it's Jen. Welcome back to Bookish Blonde. So today we're going to talk about some historical fiction books that are not World War II related. Now, I love World War II fiction books, but I feel like there's so many titles out there for World War II that sometimes if you read a lot of historical fiction, you can get burnt out a little bit with the World War II. And so I have 8 books here I'm going to talk about, 4 which I've read, 4 which I have not read, that I plan to at some point, right? Story of my life, but that cover different times in history other than World War II. So let's get started. With book number 1, we have The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meissner. I have not read this one. The first 4 I'm going to talk about I have not read, so I'll do my best to tell you what they're about. And in The Nature of Fragile Things, we are following the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. We're following Sophie Whalen, who is a young Irish immigrant, so desperate to get out of New York that she ends up answering a mail order bride ad and agrees to marry a man who she knows nothing about, San Francisco widower Martin Hawking. So Sophie quickly develops deep affection for Kat, who is his 5-year-old daughter who is mute. And then it says, one spring evening, a stranger at the door sets in motion a transforming chain of events. Sophie discovers hidden ties to 2 other women. The first, pretty and pregnant, is standing on her doorstep. The second is hundreds of miles away in the American Southwest, grieving the loss of everything she once loved. The fates of these 3 women intertwine on the eve of the devastating earthquake, thrusting them into a perilous journey that will test their resiliency and resolve, and ultimately their belief that love can overcome fear. This sounds amazing. This sounds so good. I've read other Susan Meissner, and I've really liked her writing. She's a very popular historical fiction author. So there you go, San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Okay, the next one is actually another Susan Meissner, Bright as Heaven. Another one I haven't read by her. This covers 1918, right before the Great War, in Philadelphia, and this is following the flu pandemic of 1918. We have a couple female characters, I believe, in this one. Let's see. Yes, it says, into this bustling town come Pauline Bright and her husband, filled with the hope that they can now give their 3 daughters, Evelyn, Maggie, and Willa, a chance at a better life. Their dreams are short-lived. Just months after they arrive, the Spanish flu reaches the shores of North America. As the pandemic claims more than 12,000 victims in their adoptive city, Pauline and her family find themselves in a world that looks nothing like the one they knew. But even as they lose loved ones, they take in a baby orphaned by the disease who becomes their single source of hope. Amidst the tragedy and challenges that surround them, they learn what they cannot live without and what they are willing to do about it. Says a compelling story of a mother and daughters who find themselves in a harsh world not of their making that will either crush their resolve to survive or purify it. Again, sounds amazing. So there's another one by Susan Meissner, The Spanish Flu, 1918. Okay, next book is following the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution. I hope I'm saying that right. That's I Was Anastasia by Ariel Lawhon. I just read, beginning of the year, The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon, and that also is another historical fiction that's not World War II, which you guys, I won't talk about that again. I've mentioned that a lot on this channel because I loved it. In this one, we are following Anastasia Romanoff. I don't want to read too much because I don't know a lot about the history. I know that I believe she went missing or something like that, and that's not a spoiler. I think that's the historical fact. And so we're following 2 timelines, July 17, 1918. Bolshevik secret police force Anastasia Romanoff and along with her, the entire imperial family into a damp basement in Siberia where they face a merciless firing squad. No one survives. At least that is what the executioners have always claimed. Then we pick up in Germany, February of 1920, and a young woman bearing an uncanny resemblance to Anastasia Romanoff is pulled, shivering and senseless, from a canal in Berlin. Refusing to explain her presence in the freezing water, she's taken to a hospital where an examination reveals that her body is riddled with countless horrific scars. I'm not going to read anymore, but so this one is following the Russian Revolution. in late 1918 to the early 1920s. So that one sounds good too. Okay, last one that I have not read yet. This was a recommend at one of the BookTube Besties reading retreats that are virtually online twice a year, and I picked it up. This is Bluebird by Genevieve Graham. This one is also following in 1918, so set during World War I, but also post-war Prohibition. The twist in this one, or what makes it different, is it's following obviously Prohibition, but it's taking place in Canada. So this also is supposed to be a really good love story, but I love that it's part of Canada's history that I don't know about, so that'll be something, hopefully I'll learn something new in this one as well. That's what I love about historical fiction. You learn something new. Okay, the next four I have read and loved, which is why I picked them out to recommend them to you guys. The first one I want to talk about is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. Now, Ruta Sepetys is a great historical fiction writer. She also is YA, so this is going to be a good author for anyone who has, you know, younger children that are interested in historical fiction. They're still going to learn a lot, and they're going to enjoy it, but it's going to be appropriate enough for that age group. But also adults can read her, and she does not read like a YA romance or a YA typical book where sometimes the angst can be a little annoying when you're my age, but she does a really good job with historical fiction. I could have recommended more than this book by her. I read a couple by her and loved them all, but for the sake of this video, this one takes place in Madrid, Spain in 1957. It's post-Spanish Civil War. General Franco is, he's a dictator. He has totally taken over the city. There are different points of view in this book as well. We are following the main character, Daniel Matheson. He is the son of an oil tycoon. He goes there with his family and hopes to connect with his mother's country of birth, which is Spain, and through his photography, through fate, he gets introduced to a girl named Anna, and you also follow her. Her family is going through a lot of different hard times and obstacles because of the Spanish Civil War. I don't want to say much more. I'm worried I'm going to spoil it. I read this one a while ago and really enjoyed it when I read, so I'm just kind of looking it over to make sure I don't say anything that will ruin this for you guys if you have not read it. It just says, master storyteller Ruta Sepetys once again shines light into one of history's darkest corners in this epic, heart-wrenching novel about identity, unforgettable love, repercussions of war, and the hidden violence of silence, inspired by the true post-war struggles of Spain. So there's that one. Okay, the next one, we are following 1973 Alabama, post-segregation, a time in U.S. history that in my opinion, is just appalling. Please do your research on this book. If you have any trigger warnings, I don't want to give you any trigger warnings because I feel like they can be spoilery sometimes, but that is Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins-Valdez, another really strong recommendation, 5 stars for me. This book made me so angry. It was very hard-hitting, very emotional, appalling that this was a time in our history, that this actually really happened. But we're following Sybil Townsend, and she is a nurse, and she's taking care of 2 sisters, 11 and 13, and she's advocating for them because the government is trying to sterilize them so that they cannot reproduce anymore. This covers forced sterilization policies that actually happened in our U.S. history. It mostly targeted young African-American girls and women, and it's just, this one's really, really hard-hitting, you guys, but so good, so good. I love this book, 5 stars. All right, next one, we are picking up in 1970s, and we're following the real true life story of an institution called Willowbrook. And this is by, Ellen Marie Weisman. I also gave this 5 stars when I read this a while ago. Willowbrook was overcrowded, underfunded, understaffed. Now, was every staff member there horrible? No. But this book is another emotional, hard-hitting book. Willowbrook kind of became like a dumping ground for people with disabilities. It became a dumping ground for children whose parents didn't want to care for them, or that kind of no one wanted them in the foster system. So, but this was a horrifying time in our history as well. We're following Sage Winters. She believes that her sister Rosemary died, and then she finds out that her parents lied to her and she didn't die, but they committed her to Willowbrook State School. And so Sage kind of goes in trying to figure out what's this place. It's always been shrouded by rumor and mystery. A place local parents threaten to send misbehaving kids. But with no idea what to expect, Sage secretly sets out for Willowbrook, determined to find Rosemary. What she learns once she steps through its doors and is mistakenly believed to be her sister will change her life in ways she could have never imagined. So you have a mystery in this one as well, and this was so good, you guys. So another non-World War II historical fiction. Okay, the last one I have for you is another high recommend, 5 stars. When I read this, I loved it. I believe I read this like when it came out or close to it. This was first published in 2010, so it's been a while. This would be a good reread, actually, and there's a sequel that I own as well. But this is The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. If you liked The Help, this is a good recommendation as well. This one we are following late 1700s, early 1800s, Virginia tobacco farm slavery times. We follow 2 main characters. We have Lavina, who was orphaned. She's an Irish immigrant. She was orphaned on the ship ride over to America. And so she's taken in by the owner of this plantation, and she is allowed to live with the slaves and work in the kitchen house. And this one I could not put down when I read it. There were twists and turns in this that really surprised me. I read this when I was in my early stages of reading historical fiction, so this was just eye-opening to me. I just enjoyed this book so much. You're going to get themes of hope and friendship in this. Obviously, it's going to have some hard topics. We're talking about slavery. But yeah, this was so good. If you like The Help, pick this one up. And so yeah, that's all my thoughts on that one. Again, another strong recommendation. So I hope that was enjoyable. I had so much fun prepping for this video. Again, it gets me excited about some books that are just sitting on my shelves. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this gives you guys some new recommendations to pick up at your library or at your bookstore. If there are any non-World War II favorite historical fictions, please put those in the comments below. I love chatting with you guys there. And thanks again for taking time out of your schedule, your busy day, to watch my video. And I will see you in the next one. Happy reading. Bye.